All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers in tonight's video, and we're going to talk about a bunch of different things regarding specifically the quarterback position because I think Matthew Stafford's the guy. If it's not Matthew Stafford, I genuinely think a guy like Aaron Rodgers. I am a biased Green Bay Packers fan, but I think a guy like Rodgers. I'm not so keen on Russell Wilson returning. I'm not so big at like making a move for Captain Kirk Cousins. But I genuinely think, especially with the recent Matthew Stafford news, that the Rams not only are probably going to move on from him, but more importantly, when I look at Pittsburgh's offense and roster in whole, it just kind of feels like there is this clear, obvious window. Now, yes, they need to make some tweaks. First off, there's some question marks with the running back position as far as Najee Harris returning to Pittsburgh. You still got Jalen Warren, but I keep seeing the Boise State running back mock draft to Pittsburgh in the first round, which would solidify that position for a long time. They had a great offensive line draft last year. They've had one of the best defenses in the NFL for like the past 5 years. And I think this roster is 2 wide receivers away from really making noise with obviously the proper quarterback. And so that's kind of my take and my theory here is like, people want to move forward with 25-year-old Justin Fields. People want to run it back with Russell Wilson. People want them to draft a quarterback in the first round or the second round and move forward. But when I look at Pittsburgh, I see a really great roster, like one of the best defenses in the National Football League. And I think if they made a win now move, it would maximize their current window, but still be able to think long-term, AKA you draft the Boise State running back, or you get your running back of the future in this year's class. You get a couple of wide receivers, a couple of young wide receivers, and a proven wide receiver to pair with George Pickens. You draft a quarterback like Will Howard in the 4th round, and you make a move for Stafford, and you just try and win a freaking playoff game. But folks, before we get any further into tonight's video, hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. I haven't made a Steelers video in a couple of weeks here. The main and really biggest question is the quarterback position. That's really it. And that's what we're going to talk about. So hit that like button, hit that sub button if you guys haven't already. But obviously, like I just said, the main headliner this offseason is the crucial decision at quarterback. Both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields are going to be free agents, and neither really took them to true contender status last year. Yeah, Russ 100% had his moments. Justin Fields, 4-2 as a starter. We'll talk about that. He certainly had his moments as well. But with the 21st pick in this year's class, they're not going to be able to grab a guy in the first round and just deploy him this upcoming year and start looking at the future. And when you zoom out as a whole, the Pittsburgh Steelers have lost 6 straight postseason matchups. They've allowed at least 28 points in all 6 of those losses. So I guess I was just talking about this dominant defense, but still at the end of the day, the offense, you got to move the chains. You got to keep it out. You got to keep the ball in your hands, pretty much. It's the longest streak in NFL history. It's just terrible. And the quarterback position needs to be addressed. And I'm glad that they made a bigger move, moving off of Kenny Pickett and going with Russ and Justin Fields. But yesterday or the day before in the last week, the Rams gave permission to Matthew Stafford's agent to talk with other teams. So I think his name's Josh Palmer with ESPN said this: the Rams have been in conversations with his agent. They've also given his agent permission to talk to other clubs and just figure out if he became available, what would the numbers be elsewhere. But me personally, I think just the fact that the Rams are allowing conversations between Matthew Stafford's agents and other team, I think when you just get a little bit deeper below that iceberg, I think there's something there. It's definitely not nothing. Maybe if there's not something there and Stafford's going to run it back with the Rams for a couple of seasons and they ultimately extend him, I just don't think that there's nothing there. And they're one of the favorites to land Matt Stafford, according to like Vegas betting odds. The lead candidate to get Stafford via trade would be the Las Vegas Raiders. And I saw, this was kind of interesting. CBS Sports proposed a trade where the Steelers and Rams made this trade. And what they would do is they would swap first round picks. And then the Steelers would also give the Rams a 2025 second round pick and a conditional 2026 second round pick as well. So I don't really love the package because The first round swap, that doesn't really affect me too much. Giving up a second round pick to Matt Stafford is not my favorite thing in the world. But once again, man, at the end of the day, this team's like a free agent wide receiver acquisition and a quarterback away from being finally just a genuinely well rounded offense and defense and a well rounded team in general. And that's just, whether it was Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph did his thing and then they lost to the Bills. I'm just sick of this team winning like 10 or whatever games, having a winning season, getting to the playoffs, and it's not even a close game. I'm just so sick of it. So I know Matthew Stafford is 37 years old, but he's still unarguably a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League. And honestly, that's being nice to the rest of the league. He was 8th in success rate last year, 11th in QBR, and still showcased his ability to make big time plays in big time games. But one other report we saw, this is from Jeremy Fowler with ESPN. Apparently, the Steelers are optimistic about re-signing Justin Fields. And even though I'm talking about maximizing this contention window, because, I mean, literally, if they had Matthew Stafford, let's just say this was Madden, and I put Matthew Stafford for free in exchange for Russ Wilson on Madden, right? Let's just even say we're not worried about cap space. The Steelers would be a literal Super Bowl contender. That's how close they are to it. But I'm still intrigued, no matter who the quarterback is, if it's Justin Fields, Stafford, Rodgers, Russ, I'm still intrigued with the idea of signing, or I should say extending Justin Fields, because he went 4-2 as the Steelers started this past year. He totaled 10 touchdowns. 5 of them were passing, 5 of them were rushing, and only 1 interception over that span. I know it wasn't jaw-dropping play. I know he's not like the best pocket quarterback in the National Football League, but still 25 years old with that level of athleticism and going 4-2 in the 6 games he started last year. I think regardless of who the quarterback is next year, it's enough to at least, kind of like that report said, be optimistic about trying to re-sign Justin Fields. And then because I mentioned it earlier on in this video, I saw a mock draft, and in round 4, pick 121, they had you guys selecting Will Howard out of Ohio State. That was their quarterback. He's a well-built QB. He's got good athleticism. He's got good touch, good accuracy across the field. He had a bad game against Michigan, which kind of hampered the way people view him as a quarterback this upcoming class, but he did really good in his final 7 contests of 2024, including the college football playoffs. He tallied 12 big-time throws while committing just 2 turnover-worthy plays. So if they don't re-sign Justin Fields and they go with Russell Wilson or Matt Stafford or Aaron Rodgers or whatever, I still think drafting a guy like Will Howard in the 4th round is a very smart move. Folks, that's it for me. Hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. But most importantly, let me know down below, do you want the Steelers to make a move for Matthew Stafford? Yes or no? Peace.